Okay, Wildcats, today we're looking at journal page 44, finding complex solutions of quadratic equations. To solve a quadratic function, the function is set equal to 0. The solutions to a quadratic function are the x-intercepts, also called the roots or zeros. There are three types of solutions to a quadratic function. 1, 2 real solutions. 2, 1 real solution. And 3, non-real solutions. There are three ways to solve a quadratic function. 1, factoring. 2, completing the square. 3, quadratic formula, which is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times ac divided by 2a. The discriminant d equals b squared minus 4ac. When the discriminant is greater than 0, it's 2 real solutions. When d equals 0, it's 1 real solution. And when d is less than 0, it's non-real solutions. Okay? All right, let's move on to the example. Okay, example 1. Solve the equation by completing the square. State whether the solutions are real or non-real. Give your answer in simplest form. Alright, so the first thing we do is subtract 1 from both sides. So we have x squared plus 6x equals negative 1. Okay. Now, to complete the square, we're going to take the middle number divided by 2 and square it. So that's plus 6 divided by 2 squared. But if you add something to one side of an equation, you have to add it to the other. So 6 divided by 2 squared because of the equality. Okay. So now that's x squared plus 6x plus 6 divided by 2 is 3 squared, which equals negative 1 plus 3 squared. Okay, so then that's x squared plus 6x plus 3 squared is 9, which equals negative 1 plus 9. Okay. Now, the reason we completed the square this factor, now we can factor this. Okay, so 2 parentheses equals negative 1 plus 9 is 8. Okay. We know x and x makes x squared. Well, this is our factor, 3, because 3 times 3 gives you 9, and 3 plus 3 is 6. Okay. We know that 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 plus 3 is 6. Okay, so we know that this is our factor. So x plus 3, x plus 3. Okay, well, x plus 3 times x plus 3 is x plus 3 squared equals 8. All right, now we're going to take the plus or minus square root of both sides. Okay, well, the square root cancels the squared, so you're left with x plus 3 equals now we can write 8 as plus or minus 4 times 2. Okay. Now we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So x equals negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 4 is 2 times the square root of 2. Okay. So there are two real solutions, negative 3 plus or minus 2 square roots of 2 and negative 3 plus, and negative 3 minus 2 square roots of 2. Okay? All right, go ahead and finish up example 1. All right, let's take a look at example 2. Okay, example 2. Solve the equation by completing the square. State whether the solutions are real or non-real. Give your answer in simplest form. Okay, so we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. Okay, so then that's x squared plus 4x equals negative 6. Now to complete the square, we're going to add 4 divided by 2 squared. But what you do to one side, you have to do the other. So plus 4 divided by 2 squared. Okay, so then that's x squared plus 4x plus 4 divided by 2 is 2 squared equals negative 6 plus 2 squared. Okay, so then that's x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals negative 6 plus 4. So we're going to factor this. So that's 2 parentheses equals negative 2. Now we know x and x makes x squared. Okay. Now we need to figure out what numbers to multiply to give you 4 combined to be 4. Well, the answer to that is that 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. So this is x plus 2, x plus 2. Okay. Well, this is x plus 2 squared equals negative 2. We're going to take the square root of both sides, plus or minus. Okay. This cancels. You're left with x plus 2 equals plus or minus. The square root of a negative number is I, so I square roots of 2. Subtract 2 from both sides. So x equals negative 2 plus or minus I square roots of 2. Okay? So there are 2 non-real, and the reason they're non-real is because of the I. Okay, solution. So that's negative 2 plus I square roots of 2 and negative 2 minus I square roots of 2. Okay? All right, example 3. Solve the equation by completing the square. State whether the solutions are real or non-real. Give your answer in simplest form. Now, they've already have the number on the right side, so now we just need to do x squared minus 7x plus negative 7 divided by 2 squared equals negative 24 plus negative 7 divided by 2 squared. Okay, so then that's x squared minus 7x plus negative 3.5 squared equals negative 24 plus negative 3.5 squared. Okay, let's go ahead and use Desmos. So Math Tools, Graphing Calculator. Oh, I don't want that, sorry. Math Tools, Scientific Calculator. So parentheses, negative 3.5 squared is 12.25. Okay, so that's x squared minus 7x plus 12.25 equals negative 24 plus 12.25. Okay, now we're going to factor this 2 parentheses equals negative 24, what is that? Negative 24 plus 12.25 is negative 11.75. So negative 11.75, okay? X and X. Now we need to think about what numbers multiply to give you 12.25 and combine to be negative 7. Well, they already gave it we already have that. Negative 3.5 times negative 3.5 is 12.25. And negative 3.5 minus 3.5 equals negative 7. So our factors are, and I think we need some light here. Brighten this lesson up a little bit. All right. X minus 3.5, X minus 3.5. Okay. So then this is X minus 3.5 squared equals negative 11.75. Well, take the square root of both sides, plus or minus. All right, so then that cancels. You're left with X minus 3.5 equals plus or minus the square root of negative 11.75. Well, we add 3.5 to both sides. So X equals 3.5 plus or minus the square root of negative number is I. So I square root of 11.75. All right, so there are two non-real solutions. X equals 3.5 plus or minus I square roots of 11.75 and X equals 3.5 minus, I keep putting a plus or minus, plus minus I square roots of 11.75. All right. Let's move on to the next example. All right, example 4. Without solving the equation, state the number of solutions and whether they are real or non-real. Okay? So now this is where the discriminant comes in. Okay? The discriminant equals, I'm going to go back to my notes, is b squared minus 4ac. Okay? Where this is a, this is b, this is c. Okay? So d equals b, which is 3 squared, minus 4 times a, which is negative 16, times c, which is 13. Okay, so let's go ahead and use the scientific calculator. All right, so then 3 squared minus 4 times parentheses negative 16 parentheses 13 is 841. Okay, now in our notes we can say that D is equal to 841, which is greater than 0. So we say that it has two real solutions. Okay, so the discriminant is 841. Because the discriminant is positive, the equation has two real solutions. All right, let's look at the next example. All right, example 5. Without solving the equation, state the number of solutions and whether they are real or non-real. Okay, so put a 1 here. we know the discriminant is b squared minus 4 times ac, okay, where this is a, this is b. Oh, now wait a second. We need to stop. You need to move everything to one side first. We need to subtract 3 from both sides. Okay. So be careful. I almost made that mistake. Okay. But we need to move this to the left first before we do the a, b, and c and anything else. So now that's negative 1x squared minus 2 divided by 7x minus 3 equals 0. Okay. Now, this is the a value, this is the b value, and this is the c value. Okay. Now we go to discriminant. Discriminant is b squared minus 4 times ac. So d equals b, which is negative 2/7 squared, minus 4 times a, which is negative 1, times c, which is negative 3. Alright, so now let's use the scientific calculator. So parentheses, negative 2 divided by 7 squared minus 4 times negative 1, and you probably want to put that in parentheses, negative 1, parentheses, negative 3. Okay, so let's just round to the 10th place, so let's call that negative 11.9. Okay, nonetheless, the discriminant equals negative 11.9, okay, which is less than 0, which we know when it's less than 0, it has 2 non-real zeros. Which reminds me, we need to update this. This should say 2 non-real zeros. So let me fix that. So 2 non-real solutions. I said zeros. Why did I say that? Solutions. Okay. So not zeros. What am I talking about? 2 non-real solutions. Okay, so the discriminant is negative 11.9. Because the discriminant is negative, the equation has 2 non-real solutions. Okay. All right, example 6. Without solving the equation, state whether the number of solutions and whether they are real or non-real. Okay. So we need to add the 16x to both sides first. So then that's 4x squared plus 16x plus 16 equals 0. Now we have our a, b, and c, and we know the discriminant is equal to b squared minus 4 times a times c. Well, the discriminant equals 16 squared minus 4 times 4 times 16. So let's go ahead and put that in here. So 16 squared minus 4 times 4 times 16 is 0. Okay, since the discriminant is equal to 0, we know from our notes that there's one real solution. Okay, so the discriminant is 0. Because the discriminant is 0, the equation has one real solution. Okay, let's take a look at the next example. All right, example 7. Solve the equation using the quadratic format. Enter each solution in simplest form. Check a solution by substitution. Okay, so let's put a 1 here. This is A, this is B, this is C. We know that x equals negative b plus or minus, and this is where you want to double check your notes, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Okay, so x equals negative b, which is negative 8, plus or minus the square root of negative 8 squared. This is the most common mistake students make. They forget to put the negative number in parentheses, okay, when you square it. Okay, minus 4 times 1 times 29 divided by 2 times 1. So then x equals 8 plus or minus. What I recommend doing is getting the discriminant. So let's put this without the square root. Let's just put just the discriminant in the calculator. So then that's parentheses negative 8. You have to put a negative number in parentheses when you square it. Minus 4 times 1 times 29 is negative 52 divided by 2. Now we know because it's a negative number, it's going to be I. So x equals 8 plus or minus I square root. But we need to see if we can write 52 as a product of squares. So let's go to Google. Desmos graph and table. Okay, function table. Now I need to find all the combinations that make negative 52. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to type negative 52 divided by x. So now I'm going to find all the factors. So I'll start with 1, and then I'm going to do right here x plus f of x. Okay. Oh, actually, what am I doing? You don't need this portion. I'm not factoring, just a habit, sorry. So 1's a perfect square, 4, that works, but let's see if we can go further. Then 9, let's see, 16, nope. The next one is 25, nope. 36, nope. Let's see, 49. You can see that, and the last one is 64. Once you go past the number and there's nothing that works, then you know that this is a combination, 4, negative 13. Okay, so really we can just write that as 4 times 13 because we already took care of the negative portion. Okay, divided by 2. So then x equals 8 plus or minus I square roots of 4 times the square root of 13 divided by 2. So then x equals 8 divided by 2 plus or minus Square root of 4 is 2, so that's 2I divided by 2, square root of 13. Okay, 8 divided by 2 is 4, so x equals 4 plus or minus 2 divided by 2 is 1I square root of 13. Okay, so the two solutions are x equals 4 plus I square root of 13, and then x equals 4 minus I square root of 13. Okay. All right. Example 8. Solve the equation using the quadratic format. Enter each solution in the simplest form. Check a solution by substitution. Okay. And I just noticed in the instruction, I'm not going to actually go through the check portion. Okay. I think this is enough to get here. Okay. All right. So again, we're not going to check by substitution. We're just going to find the solution. Okay. All right. So put a 1 here. This is A. This is B. This is C. Okay. So then x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Okay, so then x equals negative 30 plus or minus the square root, and again, this is where the students make the most mistakes, is whenever you square negative 30, you have to put it in parentheses, especially in the calculator. Okay, minus 4 times 1 times 100 divided by 2 times 1. Okay. All right, so then x equals positive 30 plus or minus. Let's go ahead and find out what the discriminant is. Okay, so let's use Desmos. Actually, you know what? Let's leave this tab because I think we might need it in a few minutes. So Desmos.com, Math Tool, Scientific Calculator, parentheses, negative 30 squared minus 4 times 1 times 100 is 500. So this is square root of 500 divided by 2. Okay, so x equals 30 plus or minus. We need to see if we can simplify the 500. So now that's where we want to keep this green. So let's clear these out. And then instead of negative 52, we're going to do 500 divided by x. 1, 4. 4 works, but let's see if we can go further. 9, nope. 16, nope. 25. Ooh, that's, but let's keep going. 36. Let's see, 49. What else do we have? 64. 81. 100. There's our number, 105. So 100 times 5. Okay. All right, divided by 2. So then x equals 30 divided by 2 plus or minus the square root of 100 times the square root of 5 divided by 2. Well, x equals 30 divided by 2 is 15 plus or minus the square root of 100 is 10 divided by 2 times the square root of 5. So x equals 15 plus or minus 5 square roots of 5. Okay, there are two solutions. Our x equals 15 plus 5 square roots of 5, and x equals 15 minus 5 square roots of 5. All right, go ahead and finish up your examples and have a wonderful Wildcat day.